How you doing, guys? For all my beamers out here, this is for you. What we're going to talk about is the best engine ever of all time being created. And we're going to talk about the B58, which is the engine I got in my garage right now. Oh my goodness, I love that engine. One thing about uh these cars, they're pretty strong. A lot of plastic though. A lot of plastic though. Um, and that's just something that if BMW can make the rods, the pistons, and everything like that out of plastic, they would to make it so much cheaper. Trust. But there's some things out there that you can change. Like there's a lot of things out there. Honestly, you can change for the B58, which is replacing some of the plastic with some other components that's a lot stronger than it. There's a lot of aftermarket stuff like that. But when you buy the car, you don't want to buy the car and have to put more money into it to change out factory stuff that should have been already changed out, you know what I mean? Should already been fixed. But we're gonna jump into this video and yeah, hopefully if you drive a Mercedes or Audi in here, hopefully you don't get offended. But
Perfectly balances performance, reliability, and cost of ownership. Would you believe me? Well, in today's video, we're uncovering the secrets behind BMW's best engine ever, the legendary B58. So the B58 engine started being produced in 2015 and was equipped in many different models ranging from the M140i to the 240i to the 340i, the 440i, all the way up to the X3 and a bunch of other different vehicles. So the B58 is an inline-six engine equipped with a twin-scroll turbocharger. From the factory, the B58 engine produces anywhere from 320 horsepower all the way up to 380 horsepower stock. And as
now I know y'all gonna be like, bro, please stop pausing the video. I get that. I'm gonna speed right by it. They do lie about their horsepower. They say from stock is 382. Now, I dynoed my car when it was stock because me and my friends was talking about it. We was curious. Now, granted, I had like a intake I installed on it before I did the dyno, so may add a little bit of horsepower. But I was at 390, I think 392 or 393 or something like that horsepower. And then after I did it again, I was like almost at 390, 390. I think it was like 394, 395 or something like that. Yeah, I was at when I did mines. Um, and yeah, they definitely lie about horsepower, but those numbers, I'm surprised it's a little low because mine's is a little higher than that. So I'm surprised that's kind of low on on the side of it. But hey,
well, it produces anywhere from 332 to 369 foot-pounds of torque stock.
mm, I guess so. Yeah,
And now BMW is notorious for undervaluing or underrating their horsepower and torque numbers. So the actual numbers from independent dyno tests that have been done actually supersede that all the way up to 400 horsepower at the crank. And especially when you factor in the 10 to 20% of drivetrain loss from the crankcase to the wheels itself, the BMW B58 engine actually produces upwards of 400 horsepower at the crank. But of course, BMW isn't going to tell you this, just like most of their vehicles. And so the B58 engine carries the torch forward, being an inline-six engine with a twin-scrolling turbocharger. Now, BMW is notorious for making some of the best inline-six engines ever, but what makes the B58 so much different is its modular design. And so what it means for an engine to be modular is most of the components can be cross-compatibly used across the board. Almost 40% of all of the engine components found in the B lineup can be cross-used with each other. So that means 40% of the components on the B48 can be also used on the B58 engine. And so what this means is BMW is able to make a mass amount of these parts and sell it to you, the consumer, at a cheaper price point. Oftentimes is what we see when car manufacturers don't follow this concept is that certain engine components end up being way more expensive than others. So you can see this notoriously in the N54 and N55 engine, where the previous gen N54, the fuel injector sold for $2,000-$3,000 because the fuel
what? Damn. And I was going to get S58 injectors. I have a friend that was selling it. He's selling like I think for like 500. I'm thinking about buying them, but two bands, 3 bands for injectors? Fuck no.
Fuel injectors were such a trouble point in the vehicle. So for you, the consumer, having a modular engine means, hey, you can go out and buy all these different B48 engine parts and they fit perfectly on to the B58 engine. And I want you guys to keep in mind that the 330, 380 horsepower stock that this engine makes is nowhere near its potential. With a few breathing modifications such as intake, tune, exhaust, downpipes, and a few other little tweaks here and there, this engine can be safely brought up to 500 horsepower with minimal upgrades done. The B58 engine really is a tuner's dream engine because it's extremely reliable, which we'll get into later, but it also produces a ton of power while keeping the straight six setup and mitigating any issues that you could have with a twin turbo setup because this engine is twin scrolling, not twin turbocharged. We're basically telling you that anybody who goes to the dealership and buys any of these 440i's, 340i's, etc., equipped with this engine,
Game of Thrones King's Road is now available for both PC and mobile with Google Play Games.
can push 500 horsepower easily and not face any reliability issues. And there's plenty of people out there on YouTube or in the forums that have easily made 700 horsepower on stock internals. And now anybody wanting to put down a match.
That's stock internals, not stock turbo. Just to let y'all know, that's stock internals, not stock turbo. I'm gonna let y'all know right now, you're not pushing 700 horsepower out of that stock turbo. Out of that stock turbo I got in my car, I cannot push 700 horsepower out of that stock turbo. Stock internals, like you're not opening up the block. Like the block is staying the same. You're not changing out rods or none of that. Everything in that block stays the same. But the turbo, yeah, you have to change the turbo out, bro. Like you can spend about 5K on a car, maybe a little less than 5K, and you can hit those numbers. But just to let y'all know, like that's not stock everything. Like you have to change that turbo out 100%.
Massive amount of power really has to look into the bottom end of their vehicle. And this is where the B58 shines. To further reinforce the bottom end, BMW actually equipped a crank girdle similar to the one in the 2JZ that ties the main bearing caps and the main body together to give more strength and make the whole bottom end more rigid and able to handle higher horsepower numbers. And so now the B58 engine was actually a collaboration project from BMW and Toyota, and it is hailed as the equivalent of the new and modernized 2JZ engine. So if you're familiar with the 2JZ engine, this was the engine located in the older model Supras. And now this collaboration is one that we never would have seen coming. Having the raw power and driving experience of a BMW, but having the reliability factor of Toyota basically meshes together to have the best engine ever created. And Toyota doesn't just stamp their approval on any engine. If they knew the B58 was going to throw issues, they would have never equipped this in the new Supra. And yes, that is right, the new A90 Supra is actually equipped with this same engine setup.
Yes,
and although this engine gets compared to the older 2JZ engine that released almost 20 years ago, there are actually a ton of key advantages that make this engine more powerful and also projected to be more reliable. From having a water to air intercooler located directly in the intake manifold to the engine being set up to where oil squirts directly on the bottom of the pistons themselves to dissipate heat and lubricate the engine, this motor is projected to be BMW's peak collaboration of power and reliability, something that they've been trying to chase for decades. And now furthermore, the B58 engine is made out of an aluminum material, and that allows the B58 to create a ton of power while also being lighter weight, aiding BMW to keep that near 50-50 weight distribution on most of their models. So all of this being said, if you want to squeeze out the most power out of your engine as possible, and you want to tune this vehicle and do all sorts of upgrades to it and bring it up to that 600-700 horsepower.
Why the first thing they show is a JB4? No, no. I'm sorry. I was on JB4 before. JB4 is not the way to go. I'm sorry. I know so many people would have said, "Oh, I'm gonna do JB4 and I'm gonna do MSD and I'm doing together." It's like no, like no. Get rid of the JB4. It's either you going BM3 boost mod or you're going HMD. One of the two. Like you're, or I think EOTech or something like that that's out there too as well. But JB4 is not in that category. You get a JB4 if your DME is unlocked. That's what you use a JB4 for. So you can drive around. You have some power, so you're not just like driving around stock or something like that. You have a little bit more power and stuff like that. That's it. Like because you can put E30 in your car. It's the only reason why you'll get it. That's it. You will not get that. No, I'm sorry.
number, you can do this, rest assured that the bottom end will be able to handle those numbers. And so the B58 engine offers an extremely smooth and powerful experience all the way through the rev band. Even on a completely stock engine, this vehicle pulls you from a stop. So now this engine has a fuel cutoff limit of 7,200 RPMs, but the torque that's felt at the bottom end is buttery smooth and brings you up to speed in no time. I actually had the experience of riding in my buddy's 2017 BMW 440i M Sport package, and he had a few minor upgrades done to it, linked down below for that video, and this thing absolutely pulled into another dimension. The fact that we were able to accelerate from 0 to 120 miles an hour with minimal effort is absolutely bananas. And he wasn't even putting his foot down all the way. We're talking halfway on the pedal, and this thing genuinely makes you feel a pit in your stomach when you're pressing down on that accelerator pedal. And to further this experience, BMW actually equipped the B58 with the 8-speed ZF transmission that feels blessed. ZF has always been known for their sport-oriented transmissions, but more specifically, being equipped with the B58 gives you a buttery smooth experience. And
one thing about the transmission, it's weak. That's one thing about the transmission. It is weak. Um, the transmission itself, when you hit a certain amount of horsepower, you cannot like you gonna have to rebuild it. Like you literally gonna have to rebuild it. And there's aftermarket stuff out there for the rebuild process for it, but you're gonna have to rebuild that trans. Because I'm on stage 3 with my trans right now, and it feels so good. It feels so good how I switched it. Like it feels so good. It feels good. But the downside of it, when you start pushing that higher horsepower, like he said, 700 or something like that, like you're gonna have to change that. Especially if you're doing digs. Do not like I wouldn't recommend doing anything dig wise. Like you'll break your driving train. I've seen that happen on a drag strip before. Not pretty. Very expensive too.
shifts that seem seamless. The ZF has a more aggressive shift that immediately bites down and is able to translate power onto the next gear seamlessly. Almost feels like a DCT. And so what that does for the driver is it allows you to come up to any speed you want, buttery smooth, and aided with the massive amount of low-end torque that this drivetrain offers, it is just an absolutely amazing experience. And now being able to have that level of performance with the forged crank and the beefy pistons that allow you to tune this thing all the way up, it really is the newest and most modernized version of the 2JZ engine. And yes, I know people said this about the N54 engine, but don't get it twisted. The B58 is worlds and leagues more reliable than the N54 ever could be. And now that brings us into our next topic. The topic that everyone wants to discuss is reliability. How is the reliability on the B58 engine? Well, let's go ahead and dive right into that. So just to preface, this engine was listed on Ward's top 10 engines of the world 4 times. And now even making it onto that list is hard to do once. And now that tells you something about the power and the experience behind it, but not necessarily the reliability, because again, the N54 engine was not so reliable and it actually made it onto the same list. And now overall, if you look into any of the BMW forums where owners are talking about their experience behind this vehicle, it's generally pretty positive. And now I've really only seen 2 negative remarks revolving around this.
Only problem I noticed, not in my car, but I noticed in just the Beamer World history when it comes to B58 engines, is the oil pump. It gets to a certain mileage, you have to replace the oil pump. It's best to do it sooner than later. But that's the most thing I ever heard about the B58. But warranty, take it in for warranty, get it back. But for me at least, I know I'm probably just gonna have to get it fixed because I had my car flash, and I do not want them to uh update my car or something like that and fuck it up because that will piss me off. That mean I got to send my DME back overseas and get it right back. You know what I mean? It's just too much. You know what I mean? But I know the oil pump is one of the things you want to have to replace sooner or later. Uh, they said the injectors is not really a thing you gotta replace. You just gotta keep it clean, but they do fail over time or something like that. But it's like most people out here that say it fails is get a S58 injectors and put that into it, and then you just increase the life of that injector in the engine. So, but yeah.
Engine. And the first one is going to be the PCV valve. So what the PCV valve does is it controls emissions from the crankcase by removing harmful vapors and transferring them to the intake manifold for combustion. And so the issue that people have been facing with their B58 engine is that the diaphragm for the little valve itself gives out, and it basically creates a smoke show. People start burning oil, they have this white and blue smoke coming out of their exhaust or shooting out of their engine bay, and it looks like your engine just exploded, but in reality, it's a little cheap part that can be easily replaced on your own. So in reality, it's not a big deal. People DIY this all the time and do it themselves, but it is a little bit of a headache. So overall, I wouldn't even say that that makes the engine unreliable. Number two is the fuel injectors. Now, this isn't a common issue. This is basically on any of BMW's turbocharged engines. I've seen this from the N54 all the way up. The fuel injectors typically tend to have issues relating to carbon buildup that affect how they spray and affects the combustion process all in all. Now again, this isn't a huge issue because if you have a B58 engine, it's probably still under warranty and you can get this swapped out for free. I would say this isn't even an issue that should detract you from getting this drivetrain setup. I mean, BMWs have had this issue all the way from the N54. It's a dime a dozen. It's not every single model, but it's just something to look out for. Overall, the B58 has actually had very positive reviews reliability wise. If you just take care of what needs to be done, such as oil changes, transmission fluid changes, coolant changes, replacing, leaky oil seals, things of that nature, you typically won't have an issue. Now, there is one massive potential trouble area, and that really stems from the rear of the engine. So BMW placed the timing chain and the oil pump chain of this engine in the very rear. So that means if any of those components need to be serviced, you have to pull out the entire engine. And now that raises eyebrows to me because anything timing chain or oil pump related, doing the maintenance on this is going to be worlds harder. Now,
That's why I'm going to do mine to warranty, but when it gets fixed, because I was going to do it myself. Honestly, I got friends down here that has stuff that they can help me take the engine out and stuff like that. Do I really want to? No, because I might fuck it up, hit a switch somewhere else that not supposed to go, or didn't put something in, or improperly tighten something, or whatever the case may be. So 100%, like I would like to do it, but then after seeing this, I didn't know it was in the front. Like you have to take the whole engine out. I didn't know that. I do have friends down here that know how to take the engine out. They work with B58s like faithfully. Like they have, I think the one of my friends had the M4040i, the M340, and then I think it was like the one of the trucks that got it. He for his wife that has it too. So he this BMW out. I think he just cashed out on the S58. But yeah, I didn't know that you have to take the whole engine out. Yeah, warranty.
from the rear of the engine. So BMW placed the timing chain and the oil pump chain of this engine in the very rear. So that means if any of those components need to be serviced, you have to pull out the entire engine. And now that raises eyebrows to me because anything timing chain or oil pump related, doing the maintenance on this is going to be worlds harder. Now, the B58 engine is too new for us to see if this is going to become a long-term issue. So that's why I would let this be a red flag to you, but I wouldn't let it be a detractor necessarily. So now BMW says they did this to mitigate harmonic imbalances that could affect the engine at higher RPMs and allows the engine to just live a longer life, but we'll see how that pans out over time. And so overall, in the scope of reliability, BMW hit it right. So so far. Again, this engine is too new for us to say definitively if it is the most reliable slash powerful engine BMW has made to date, but it does many things right. The modular setup allows you, the driver, to have access to parts at a drastically lower price point. It creates a ton of power stock, has a absolutely large aftermarket that makes this engine setup a tuner's dream for chasing 3, 4, 5, 6, even 700 horsepower and not having to sweat over reliability. So overall, I would say the B58 engine is BMW's best engine to date in terms of reliability, performance, and tunability. But let me know what you think. I would love to hear your experience with this engine.
So, well, I would say my experience for right now, the only thing I had to replace was the crank ventilation valve, fuel valve, which is in the front of the engine. I actually did a video on it. I'm gonna put it in the at the end of the video. I'll put it in the slides, whatever, for like something for y'all to review. I'll put it on the slides so y'all can see it what I'm talking about. But that was pretty easy. The part for it, it was dumb expensive. I think it was like $80 for that part that I had. I think 80 or $90 for that, which kind of made me upset because like it was just a small little part. You paying $80, $90 for that. But um yeah, very easy. You unplug it, take it out, put the new one in, plug it in, slip it on, and that's it. Start the engine, and then literally when I start the engine, I let it sit there and run, and the cold went off like that. So but the B58 for me, way high up there, way like if you have a Kia Steam car, I know my platform was built off of the K5, and then from the K5 it went up to the Stinger, and then from the Stinger I got a B58. So I know some people who's watching have the Stinger still. I would say, bro, if you had the money or you have the opportunity to get into the B58, 100% jump into it. I'm telling you, you're gonna you're gonna feel a difference. I would get the X Drive though. I have the rear wheel drive one. It's a little cheaper. I like it 'cause I like to slide out a little bit. It's so easy. Like even with contraction control on, it's easy to do it. Like so easy. But I would say jump into it. I would say jump into it. But if you have more money, you balling, shoot, get the S63 or the whatever. I think the S63 have the M5 for the M5 if I'm not mistaken. Or get the S58. S58 is literally what a B58 is, but just super saiyan, pretty much. If that makes sense for y'all. It's just an upper version, like top tier, pretty much. Um, Honestly, I should have got the S58. I was thinking about getting an M2. I just didn't like my monthly payments on it. You know what I mean? Like you talking about monthly payments on my B58 being around 300 or something like that a month. Been paying almost 900 or something like that, close to 1,000 a month. You get what I'm saying? So I was like, I don't want to pay that amount. But phew, with the money I'm making now, I should honestly cash out on it. Honestly, I should honestly cash out on it. Now for the A90 for the Supra, I like it. It's not the kind of coupe I want to be in. If you really want a coupe with the B50 in it, I would go with the M4040i. I would go with that. I was actually going to get that before I got this car, which I'm happy I didn't, just because I like having a four door, just for the simple fact that if I had groceries, I could just throw it in the back. Yeah, you have a coupe, you can still throw it in the back too, but I like having that space. You know what I mean, in the back. So, um, but yeah, yeah, I would say if you want to get a B58, jump into it. You got more money, get an S58. Got more money, get an M5. You know what I mean? Or you got you just doing way better in life. Like you just up there. Get an M8 comp and just call it a day, to be honest. But I haven't heard too much about M8 comps, too much about performance wise. Even when I look it up, I don't really see too much about them besides downpiping tune and stuff like that. But I haven't seen too much about them that much. But hey, leave your comment section down below. Let me know if y'all think that the B58 is really that like top tier. Y'all just like, it's kind of shitty. It's a BMW kind of thing. But let me know in the comment section below. But see y'all later, man. Peace.